Nous resterons fidèles à nos engagements internationaux.
We will stand by our international commitments and our values, especially regarding respect for human rights. Of course, our major concern remains the restoration of peace and return to normalcy in the affected areas. This will enable the populations to resume their activities and refugees and displaced persons to return to their homes. President Paul Biya was unquestionably the star of the week. Within 5 days, he settled the entire matter, resolving the electoral conundrum in Cameroon. He convinced the electorate to pick a new president of the republic on the 7th of October. He signed a decree extending the term of office of municipal councillors by 12 months. In the same breath, he published the law extending the term of office of members of the National Assembly by the same period, or for the same period. In a master stroke, he officialized his intention to seek re-election as president of the Republic of Cameroon before delving into deep diplomacy with the African Union. These will constitute my talking points with my guest, Professor Christopher Nsor, head of the Department of International Relations and Conflict Resolution at the University of Buea. I am your humble servant, Ashu Nyenti. I will be back in a jiffy. Why not relax with this update of the news as it unraveled at the Unity Palace. The Unity Palace is again a beehive with this diplomatic ballet as 2 ambassadors designate and 1 high commissioner designate have today, the 5th of July, presented their letters of credence to the head of state, President Paul Biya. Each of the 3 goes through a strict and solemn ritual imposed by the needs of protocol with its full guards of honor commanded by Major Jean-Michel Zolo before making their self-introduction to President Paul Biya. The first to call on the president is the South African High Commissioner designate, Gudmucho Ruth Magau.
Your Excellency, Mr. President of the Republic of Cameroon, Mr. Paul Biya, I have the honor to present to you the letters of recall of my predecessor, as well as those by which His Excellency, Mr. Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa, President of the Republic of South Africa, accredits me to you as High Commissioner.
She is acknowledged by President Paul Biya, who presents to the representative of President Cyril Ramaphosa his close collaborators, including the Minister of External Relations, Laurent Mbela, the Minister Secretary General of the Presidency, Ferdinand Ngongo, the Minister Director of the Civil Cabinet, Samuel Mbondo Ayolo, the head of the President's Defense Staff, Air Commodore Emmanuel Amugu, and the Commander of the Presidential Guard, Lieutenant Colonel Raymond Charles Beko Abondo. She returns the gesture and the 2 can sit for a 15-minute discussion. The new South African High Commissioner has an executive certificate in governance and a Bachelor of Arts. She is originally a teacher before joining politics as Member of Parliament. Until her appointment to Cameroon, Her Excellency Magau served as South African Ambassador to Vietnam. Since the advent of a Rainbow South Africa, Cameroon and South Africa have maintained strong ties based on South-South cooperation. Cameroon was also an influential voice in the anti-apartheid discourse acknowledged by the iconic statesman Nelson Mandela when he visited Cameroon. The next to inform President Paul Biya of his appointment is the Ambassador Designate of Congo, Valentin Olesengo. He is a trained journalist with a master's degree in Information and Communication Sciences. Before embracing diplomacy, he worked in several media organs, especially as Director General of Tele Congo. His diplomatic career is also rich. Prior to his appointment to Cameroon, His Excellency Olesengo served as Congo's ambassador to Senegal, Mali, Gambia, Cape Verde, Mauritania, and Guinea-Bissau. He is fluent in French and English. He comes from a country that works closely with Cameroon within CEMAC and ECAS to foster regional integration and peace in the sub-region, and the two countries enjoy political stability because of the clairvoyance of their respective heads of state, Paul Biya and Denis Sassou Nguesso, in fostering democracy and the rule of law. The last, but certainly not the least among the three to present her letters of credence to President Paul Biya is another lady, the ambassador-designate of the Republic of Korea, Rio Bokriol. Like her two colleagues, she goes through the same ritual. She has a doctorate degree in French literature. Ambassador Riol has spent her entire professional career in the diplomatic service. Before this appointment, she worked as minister counselor in the Korean embassy in Algeria. Rio Bokriol speaks English, French, and Korean and has a mandate to foster relations between both countries. She leaves the Unity Palace under the blessings of Yaoundé. Cameroon and Korea have enjoyed excellent and friendly ties since 1961, when diplomatic relations got started between both countries, and these are essentially based on mutual respect, understanding, and cooperation for common welfare. Each of the three came to the Unity Palace as ambassador-designate or high commissioner-designate, but left with the full glamour and prerogative of extraordinary and plenipotentiary added to their titles with the playing of their respective national anthems. Like the other two, the Korean ambassador's departure from the Unity Palace is accompanied by the solemn music of the Presidential Guard. There seems to be no rest for President Paul Biya. Today, 6th July, is another busy day at the Unity Palace. Three more ambassadors designate are here to present their credentials to the head of state. Each of the three heads of mission obliges to the solemn needs of protocol with his full guard of honor, commanded this time by Major Yukeb Eric, commander of the 1st Intervention Battalion of the Presidential Guard. And then they can make themselves available in the presence of President Paul Biya. The first to accomplish this diplomatic ritual is a new apostolic nuncio, Julio Murad. He receives a note from President Paul Biya, who then presents to the Papa representative his close collaborators, including the Minister of External Relations, Logène Mbela, the Minister Secretary General of the Presidency, Ferdinand Ngongo, the Minister, Director of the Civil Cabinet, Samuel Mvondo Ayolo, the heads of the President's Defense Staff, Air Commodore Emmanuel Amugu, and the Commander of the Presidential Guard, Lieutenant Colonel Raymond Charles Beko Abondo. Then the nuncio does the same, and it is time for a familiarization charge. The ambassador of the Holy See is a Turkish priest. He holds a doctorate degree in canon law and is a polyglot capable of speaking 5 languages. Before this assignment, His Excellency Monsignor Julio Murad represented the Pope in a similar capacity in Zambia and Malawi. Diplomatic relations between Cameroon and the Vatican have grown by leaps and bounds. Roman Catholics represent about 50% of Christians in Cameroon, and on the 13th of January 2014, both parties signed an agreement on reinforcing the legal status of the Catholic Church in Cameroon. 3 visits of popes have taken place in Cameroon, a rare privilege, and the presidential couple has also moved in the reverse direction. On his heels comes the Sudanese ambassador-designate Elzine Ibrahim Hussein Hassan. He is a professional translator and has also done strategic military studies. His varied career includes stints as presidential translator and diplomat, serving successively in Sudanese embassies in Algeria, France, and Chad. He is fluent in Arabic, French, and English. Ambassador Hussein, who henceforth adorns the privileged trappings of Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary, has arrived in Cameroon at the right time. Only 2 months ago, Sudanese President Omar Bashir instructed that relations with Cameroon be strengthened in a way that will realize the common interest of the 2 countries in the economic and political domains. To crown today's diplomatic ballet is the ambassador designate of China, Wang Yihu, who comes to introduce himself to President Paul Biya. Like his predecessors, he goes through the same ritual. Though he had a brief stint as mayor, he has spent his entire professional career in the Chinese diplomatic services. His Excellency Yu, among other positions, served as Chinese ambassador in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Chad. Cameroon has found China to be a friend indeed. The head of state has made several trips to China, the last being in March 2018, during which China promised to donate 34 billion francs for the construction of a new National Assembly complex and another 50 billion francs for water projects in 9 cities in the country. This now brings to 6 the number of ambassadors accredited to President Paul Biya in just 2 days. Here comes a true friend of Cameroon, Moussa Faki Mahamat, chairperson of the African Union Commission, enveloped in an unusually elaborate double reception depicting the splendor and glamour of Cameroonian hospitality inside a resplendent Unity Palace. First by the Chief of State Protocol, Simon Pierre Bikele, and then the Minister, Director of the Civil Cabinet, Samuel Mbondo Ayolo, who leads the guest this Friday, July 13, into the presence of the Cameroonian sovereign, President Paul Biya.
Monsieur le Président de la Commission de l'Union africaine, Son Excellence Moussa Faki Mahamat.
The warmth and rapport in their demeanor and the chemistry in their body language speaks volumes about the esteem that the head of the continental body has for the head of state as he comes to listen and to learn. Moussa Faki Mahamat has been here several times, but this is his first official visit since his election. For close to 1 hour and 20 minutes, the guest was later to disclose their discussions were fraternal, open and frank, touching on the security challenges in Africa and topical issues in Cameroon. The AU top official used the occasion to re-echo his support for Cameroon's territorial integrity and peace in the country. They were soon joined by the First Lady, Chantal Biya, adding to the warmness of the reception, and then the accompanying delegation. Moussa Faki Mahamat then receives from the hands of the President this medal as Grand Officer of the Order of Valor, reserved only for great friends of Cameroon. Before leaving for the state lunch offered by President and Madame Chantal Biya, and true to his tradition, President Paul Biya offers his guest a befitting gift as the AU Commission Chair leaves satisfied that he has learned firsthand the reality of the prevailing situation in the Northwest and Southwest regions. Ladies and gentlemen, I told you as I introduced this program, my guest is Professor Christopher Nsor, head of the Department of International Relations and Conflict Resolution at the University of Buea. Prof, nice to have you here.
Thank you for the invitation.
And thank you for having come all the way from Buea to have this conversation with me.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
The last several days have been politically charged in this country. I guess that has not left even academics like you indifferent.
No, for sure. We are following up everything that's going on in our country because we wish to contribute scientifically and to see how we can build up a a stronger and peaceful country.
I'm talking specifically about President Paul Biya's decision to officialize his candidature for the election of October 7.
Oh, this time it was done through the social media, through Twitter.
In a more tendance manner.
It is something that is somehow foreign to most Cameroonians, but I think we have to accept the fact that the social media is a new technology for communication and information. So I think that putting it on Twitter is just part of the change that the society is gradually going through, and we have to gradually become used to such a form of communication.
Does that espouse political behaviors of other prominent leaders in the world in some other countries.
Of course, yes. If you see, for example, somebody like Obama or has been communicating through Twitter, through Facebook, and today Donald Trump is always tweeting every morning. So it is something that it's coming all over the world. And saying it is the new form of communication and information, I think that Cameroon is gradually picking up as well in this particular field. We can see a lot of communication on different aspects as well, and we are validating all this communication on different aspect or different field, economically, politically, socially. So I think it is a new form of communication that is gaining grounds in Cameroon, and we should be ready to go with it.
By that act, is the President of the Republic establishing a kind of a connect with the youth?
At this level, I think putting it on Twitter is not only limiting it to the youth, but to all the strata of the society, because
the youth use social media more nowadays.
Yeah, that is true. The youth use social media more. That is true, because this form of communication has come where some people still find it difficult to be attached to it, and the buoyant youth of Cameroon today are really working with it in a way that me, myself, as a lecturer, I see the way students are really attached to it, and I ask myself if really we are going to have some sort of interpersonal relationship again. So the youth are really attached and, and following up things that are happening in social media. So anybody who is putting information on the social media makes it's really sure that a broad spectrum of the population is going to read it.
And so what do you think might have guided the president's choice of that medium as a means of vehiculating, putting out this information out there?
Well,
at this point in time.
One, you have the political situation of the country and how to reach so many people as much as possible. Two, it is cheaper. And three, it is no more this conventional way that many people were expecting. So I think that, and with all the discussions going on in the country, I think that one of the ways to say, for example, what he said clearly, in that he said, I'm responding to the call of the people. So which means many people have in his party that have made the call that he should stand again as a president for the CPDM party, and so he is responding to them and trying to reach everybody in the society, especially the youth, as you said. And I think that is the main thing, try to connect himself with the youth of the society.
You're talking about responding to a cause, incessant calls from various segments of the Cameroonian public. It was important for him, in your point of view, to have acceded to these requests, these appeals from Cameroonians?
Well, we are going now for elections. And going in for elections, you have people are playing party politics now. And so each party is taking the responsibility to call for the candidate they trust, the candidate they know can deliver the goods for them. And so the CPDM party has taken the option to call for President Biya. First of all, statutorily, he is the person who is supposed to stand as the candidate for the party and all these aspects. So I think the party has taken this option to say this is the candidate we can use to go, to challenge other parties that will be coming up with their own candidate. So it is an issue of party politics at this level, and this party politics, each party looks for the candidate they think that can really go, head front with other
can face
challengers of the different political parties.
And what was also quite significant was a choice of the moment, 10 a.m., when the traffic on social media is at its peak.
Yeah, sure. That is true. I think most people usually open their laptops, their telephones, mobile telephones at that hour. Between 9:30 to 11:30, people are really focused on that. So that time is some sort of prime time when it comes to social media. So, and I think a broad spectrum of the population saw the call.
And it shows that the president's political communication strategists were at work. They got it right.
Okay, yeah, sure. If they could put it at 10 a.m., it therefore means that they are aware. They have been studying the time that people are visiting the social media. So, of course, yes. So they should be real good experts to have done what they have done. For sure, that's true.
Okay, the president actually officialized his candidature after he had convened the electorate for Cameroonians to pick a new president on the 7th of October this year. After that decree, many Cameroonians gave plausible views what they think the president, it was good for the president to have taken that very important decision. And so Amin Keng Edward spoke to some of them and get their reactions.
For those who know President Paul Biya as a leader over the years of his stewardship, are very much aware that this is a man who listens and observes, discreet in approach, meticulous and efficient in decision-making. Added to these rare managerial and leadership qualities of the man Paul Biya is his attachment to the rule of law as a legal instrument for a good and productive governance. Convening the electors to the polls on October 7, 2018 for the presidential election in compliance with the provisions of the Electoral Code, President Paul Biya has therefore remained true to tradition as a legalist and as a respecter of the laws of the land.
So what he's done is what is in the Constitution, and when I declared my intention to run for office, I knew that it had to happen now, so really it's nothing extraordinary. What is extraordinary, though, is the fact that it's the first time in the political history of our country that the Electoral College is being called when the President's party hasn't confirmed his candidacy.
The President has again, from that legal and constitutional standpoint, shown that he respects the Constitution, he respects the electoral law, and that he believes in the rule of law.
Speculations that animated public debate prior to the presidential decree on a possible postponement of the presidential elections have now been laid to rest. Political actors from within and from without the governing class see the executive order of the President of the Republic as a true expression of love for country and attachment to Republican values such as peace, unity, and a harmonious living together of a people with a common goal and a people with a common destiny.
We wanted election because the socio-political situation of the country is not good. You know yourself what is happening in Northwest and Southwest, and we think that in those conditions, we cannot have fair election.
We have to avoid all the tensions on the political scene, and by convening elections, the president shows the way where we have to go.
This time around, it is more of intense situation because of the Anglophone crisis, and we believe that he will handle it, and that is why we have renewed our confidence in him.
The President of the Republic, Paul Biya, has played his part within the ambit of the Constitution of the country. The ball is now in the court of all the actors involved in the electoral process, especially candidates vying for the most prestigious seat in Cameroon, to respect the rules of the game by ensuring a free, fair and transparent presidential elections in a peaceful social climate.
I thank you very much, Amin Keng Edward, for that important presentation of the views of Cameroonians following the presidential decree convening the electorate. Now, Professor Nso, from your privileged position, what do you think are some of the benefits that the president can draw from the youth and even those in the diaspora whom is specifically mentioned in his tweet?
The benefits he can draw from the youth, and especially at this time,
because he has identified with their mode of operation.
Yes, at this time in the country, the benefit he can draw is try to see what the youth are calling for, today in our country, how to communicate with the youth in our country, and how to bring a solution to the crisis that we are today facing in our country.
Which involves the youth too.
Which, of course, it involves the youth. And if the youth are there, you have what we call the displacement of African youths. And in order to prevent the displacement of African youth, then he has to see and address the issues, the challenges that African youths are facing today, in order to see that African youths in Cameroon are not displaced as it is done in many other African countries. So I think those are the diaspora. The president should see into it that they are saying that the diaspora has become today a very big part of the international world and have a very big influence to play internally in internal politics that we are not supposed to minimize or to underlook. We are supposed to use this particular, the president is supposed to use this particular opportunity to see how he can communicate with the diaspora and communicate with the youth and the different strata of the public.
Talking about even the mode of communication, and for those who have done communication theories, in 1958 at the Vancouver conference, Marshall McLuhan talked about the medium being the message. The medium is a message. That is exactly what we are living here and now.
Of course, yes. The medium is the message, and the message is the knowledge, and the knowledge is what is going to empower the people and empower everybody in the society to be able to come out, to bring out the various ingenuity that each and every person has in him or herself in order to build up the society. So the medium being the message, we have to use this medium responsibly. We have to use this medium in a together manner. We have to use this medium in a, in a responsible manner in order to bring the message clear, to bring out development, to bring out peace, to bring out good, well-being in our society.
And President Paul Biya, just to take on from where you left, President Paul Biya reminded the youth on the 10th of February this year that they should not just be blind followers on social media. They should be intelligent users of that network. And so, by that example, I'm sure he has given a good example to the youth to use it in a responsible and patriotic manner.
The social media is a very big, forum, and being a very broad forum, at times we have information that are intoxicating. At times we have information that we can learn from. But there are aspects where we are supposed to develop strategies. Let me give you an example. When you hear of the Marshall Aid, how did the Marshall Aid come about? The Americans came up with aid and gave the Europeans after the Second World War and said, build up a project on your own that you think is going to develop a continent. Are you understanding me? So they did not keep on following the Europeans in all the meetings they were sitting. So if you want us to develop, then we draw a program that we think these programs are going to develop our continent. Then you give us the money for us, if it is money, for us to build up all the structures on our own, and then we see how far we can go. It is true that there is a lot of corruption, there is a lot of certain aspects, bad practices that we have to fight against as well as Africans, but I think it is time for AU to become real independent.
If you permit me to go back to the toast of last Friday, between President Paul Biya and His Excellency Musa Faki Mahamat, you see a convergence of views on virtually every issue, the need to preserve Cameroon's territorial integrity. No problem can be solved in violence. You are an expert in conflict resolution. I think that struck a chord in you.
Of course, yes. From the beginning of this conference, I've been coming to this very house, CRTV, and I've been calling for dialogue. Because I know that we have to use the Pacific method to resolve our conflict. In the AU Convention of Conflict Resolution, it is clearly stated we have to exhaust the pacific phase of resolving our conflict.
It
which means that the language of the guns should disappear and let us look into our eyes. We have committed errors. And once we have committed errors, let us take the courage, what we call assertiveness in conflict resolution. We take the courage and say these errors have been committed. Now there is no way, everybody is aware of it because it is now like an open secret.
But things cannot work in violence.
It can never work in violence. It can never work in violence.
Of course, the territorial integrity of Cameroon is sacrosanct.
Territorial integrity means protecting the borders of a country. Yes, that is true. But now, from 2005, territorial integrity does not only cover the protection of the borders of a country, but protection of a victim population. So, and that was what Kofi Annan brought in the resolution to protect. Are we only going to protect the territorial integrity without protecting the people? After the devastation in Kosovo and Rwanda. So they said, never again in Africa. So let us see how to protect our territory and protect our people.
Circumstances in which we are, you know, very well, you're a political scientist, you know that, as Max Weber said in his essay, in his lecture, Politics as a Vocation, that the right to legitimate violence belongs to the state. That's one of the characteristics of modern states. You teach political science.
That is true. The right to
legitimate violence belongs to the state.
Yes, then now you have to define legitimate violence. That's the first thing you have to do.
That is to say, maintenance of law and order, trying to quell down disturbances if there are any.
Good. That is true. I will not refuse the fact of Max Weber. When we talk of violence today, somebody like me, I'm a non-violent activist. That's the very first thing I would like you to...
No, we talk about violence in court in terms of maintaining order, police action.
Good.
Yeah, because the government cannot sit and fold its arms when there is disorder. It is the duty of the government to protect, to preserve the population, property, and sometimes...
That is clear. It is the duty of the government to protect the population, to protect property. And the first issue you should understand, we have what is known as civilian force, which is the police. We use the police to protect property and to protect the people. You know, the military is supposed to use for transborder issues and external threats. And at that time, when Max Weber was talking, we were talking about the state in the international scene. The state in international scene is supposed to fight for the interest of its people, that we have to be careful in order not to go to the level of violence.
So now, what will you say to the restive populations, especially at this time that everybody, you have said that you vouch for peace, everybody is looking forward to peace, and so on and so forth. What can you say to populations in these restive areas in the Northwest and in the Southwest at this particular point in time? What is their role in all of this?
I think the very first thing is peace is very important. We have to really see that everybody should participate in bringing peace. Though I know peace can reign when there is justice, because without justice there is no peace. I will not only talk to the population of the Northwest and the Southwest, but I'll talk to Cameroonians in general. It is our responsibility to bring peace in our country. We have to acknowledge now that violence is not an answer to any problem. We have to keep down our guns and we go to dialogue. I think dialogue is the most important thing.
Even though dialogue is ongoing, we have seen, you know, the government has initiated aid in Bamenda, in Buea, in other spheres. It is ongoing. It is not a destination. It is a process. You agree with me on that?
Dialogue is ongoing.
It's a process.
And it is a process, as you have put it. And now we have to see which other ways we can do it, where we are going to include, it should come from all the angles.
All Cameroonians.
All Cameroonians, so each and everybody should feel that he or she is contributing to this dialogue in order to build up the issue. If dialogue, because that is one of the things we should know. You can never have one party in a conflict. We usually have 2 or more parties in a conflict. And when we have 2 or more parties in a conflict, it therefore means that we have to bring in now all the parties to go in for dialogue.
Okay, Prof, we're going to take our third and last pause on this program. Recently, the head of state took a number of measures to give a new impetus to the health sector in Cameroon. Here is Ayimbede with a précis of those measures.